A powerful aura doesn't fit into the world quietly. It bends reality, triggers reflection, and makes people confront what they're not ready to face. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift without saying a word? Maybe. People glance your way, some intrigued, others unsettled. Conversations pause, body language changes. It's not because of what you wear or say. It's something deeper, something they can't name. That, my friend, is your aura. And when your aura is strong, grounded, and unapologetically real, it stirs things in others they weren't ready to feel. You're not imagining it. You're not overthinking it. Your energy speaks before you do, and it speaks truth. This video is for the ones who've always felt different, not less, not unworthy, just unmatched. A frequency too rare for the average person to understand. Let's get into the first 5 signs that your energy isn't just strong, it's revolutionary. Sign 1. You intimidate without speaking. You don't ask for attention, yet you draw it. People adjust themselves when you enter a space. You carry quiet strength, unapologetic presence, and that threatens those who haven't found their own. Sign 2. You speak the uncomfortable truth. You don't play social games. If something's off, you say it. You don't sugarcoat. You don't pretend. And that kind of raw honesty makes people confront truths they'd rather ignore. Sign 3. You see through people. Instantly. You read energy like a second language. You feel intentions, sense masks, and spot lies without needing to be told. That level of perception unnerves people who aren't ready to be seen. Sign 4. You attract and then confuse. People are drawn to you, but when they get close, they realize you don't play by the usual emotional rules. You're grounded, intense, calm, and self-contained. You don't need them, and that's confusing in a world built on validation. Sign 5. You thrive alone. While others fear silence, you welcome it. Solitude fuels you. Peace isn't a luxury. It's your baseline that unnerves those who depend on others to feel whole. Sign 6. You don't chase. You attract. You've outgrown the need to prove yourself. You don't chase people. You magnetize what's aligned, and when something isn't, you let it go with peace. Sign 7. You trigger without trying. Your peace makes others feel their chaos. Your confidence highlights their doubt. Your truth reflects their pretending, and they either admire it or they run from it. Sign 8. Your boundaries are felt, not spoken. People sense your limits before you speak them. You don't tolerate manipulation, gossip, or chaos. Your presence commands respect, without confrontation. Sign 9. You inspire. Just by existing your journey, your growth, your resilience, it all radiates. You don't need to motivate people with words. Your energy alone calls others highest. Sign 10. Your silence is loud. You don't fill space with noise. Your stillness speaks. Your calm unsettles those addicted to distraction. You make silence sacred. Sign 11. You don't seek validation anymore. You've stopped asking the world for permission to be yourself. You walk in your truth. That kind of inner peace is rare and often misread as arrogance. Sign 12. People project onto you insecure. People will call you distant, cold, or too much. But what they're really saying is, you remind me of everything I'm not yet brave enough to face. Sign 13. You're not for everyone, and you know it. This is your liberation. You're no longer trying to fit in. You've accepted that. Your energy isn't meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be transformational. You didn't wake up with this energy. You earned it through heartbreaks, breakdowns, breakthroughs, and choosing healing over hiding. Your light will challenge people. Your truth will trigger them, but that's not a flaw. That's your purpose in motion. So let them call you intense. Let them label you too much. You weren't meant to blend in. You were built to awaken. Your aura doesn't need permission. It doesn't need approval, it just needs space to radiate. And the right people, they won't ask you to dim, they'll rise to meet your frequency. A powerful aura doesn't fit into the world quietly. It bends reality, triggers reflection, and makes people confront what they're not ready to face. You're not imagining it. You're not too much. You're just real, and real shakes things. It's not about your words. It's not your style or volume. It's the truth in your presence. You don't seek approval. You simply stand in alignment. And that scares people. You're calm, centered, certain. That certainty, especially in a world addicted to doubt and distraction, makes people uncomfortable. They call it intensity or distance, but what they really mean is you're not playing the game. When you stop performing for acceptance, people lose control over how to label you, and in that silence, your power becomes undeniable. You don't just walk into a space, you claim it. You don't do surface. You're not here for small talk or masked emotions. You feel what isn't said. You notice energy shifts. You ask the questions that most avoid because the answers might unravel illusions they depend on. You don't sugarcoat, not because you're cold, but because you're committed to truth. Your voice doesn't soothe people into staying asleep. It awakens them. It peels back the noise, the narrative, the need to pretend. In your presence, people either rise into truth or retreat into fear. And that's okay, because you're not here to please. You're here to remind. You don't need time. You don't need their words. You feel their essence. It's not judgment, it's awareness, it's intuitive perception. When someone wears a mask, you feel it. When someone's hurting, pretending, or hiding, you know. That's why people often feel uncomfortable around you. It's not because you're mean or invasive, it's because your presence demands authenticity. And not everyone is ready to be that raw, that open, or that real. Your aura doesn't allow room for deception, and that makes you both magnetic and misunderstood. People are drawn to you like a flame, curious, intrigued, inspired. But when they get close, they realize you're not like the rest. You're both soft and fierce, grounded yet electric, loving but unshakable. You're not addicted to validation. You don't play the emotional games they're used to. You value depth over drama, and that throws people off. They don't know whether to worship you or run from you, and often they do both, because you're a frequency they haven't felt before, and most aren't ready for what you awaken in them. You're not lonely. You're aligned. You don't fear silence. You find power in it. While others cling to crowds and chaos to avoid meeting themselves, you sit in solitude and listen to your soul. That scares people. People wonder how you glow without applause, how you grow without validation, how you remain whole without others holding you together. But that's the thing. Your power doesn't come from outside. It comes from the inside. And that makes your aura unshakable. You're done begging for attention, done explaining your worth, done trying to prove what your energy already makes clear. You don't chase love, validation, or approval anymore. You've outgrown the need to be chosen by those who can't even choose themselves. Now, you attract what's aligned, because when you walk in truth, only those who resonate with it can meet you there. And yes, that narrows your circle, but it widens your peace. You never asked to be a mirror, but that's what you are. Your light reflects people's shadows. Your confidence reminds them of their insecurities. Your discipline exposes their distractions. You're not doing anything to provoke them. You're simply being yourself. But in a world where many are still running from themselves, your presence feels like confrontation. You're not their enemy, you're their reminder, and not everyone wants to be reminded. You don't need to yell, you don't need to demand. Your aura sets the tone. People instinctively know what they can and cannot do around you. They know which jokes won't land, which games won't work, and which lines not to cross. Why? Because your energy communicates self-respect. You protect your peace. You protect your power, and that in itself commands respect without needing to ask for it. You don't speak unless it's real. You don't fill spaces with empty noise. You're the kind of person whose silence is more telling than most people's. Monologues. People feel seen in your silence, and sometimes that terrifies them, because in the quiet of your presence, they're forced to hear themselves. Stillness is power, and you wear it like a crown. There was a time you did, when being seen mattered more than being true, but not anymore. Now you walk in quiet confidence. You don't chase applause. You don't seek permission. Your life is your proof. Your energy is your resume, and people who can't understand that will try to shake you, but they'll fail. Because you no longer live to be understood. You live to be whole. You've seen it. They call you arrogant when you're just self-assured. They say you're cold when you're just clear. Because your energy is unfamiliar, they mislabel it. Because you refuse to shrink, they call you selfish. You've become the canvas for their unresolved pain. But here's the truth. It's not your job to carry what isn't yours. Let them misunderstand you. Your worth is not up for negotiation. Not just that your aura is powerful, but that you've owned it. You're done shrinking, done pretending, done editing yourself for the comfort of people who were never meant to meet the real you. You've accepted your role, not as someone who fits in, but as someone who awakens. Some will love you, some will leave you, but none will forget you, because when your aura is powerful, it doesn't just pass through a space, it transforms it. Your aura is a revolution. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be powerful. Yes, it's lonely sometimes. Yes, you lose people. But what you gain, peace, clarity, strength, is priceless. Stop apologizing, stop doubting, stop shrinking. You didn't earn this aura through ease. You earned it by walking through fire, healing in silence, rising without applause. And now you carry a frequency that not everyone can handle. But the right ones, they'll rise to meet it. Your aura is most powerful not in its brightness alone, but in its ability to remain luminous even when cloaked in the shadows of the world. It does not merely shimmer like a flame, it breathes like a living presence, unseen by most but deeply, felt by those whose spirits remember what sight cannot show. You are not just a being of light, you are the very current that animates the stars, the silent intelligence that trees whisper to each other about when no one is listening, the spark that causes ancient waters to remember the moon's name. Your aura is not decoration, it is declaration. It is the unspoken answer to a world obsessed with noise. In a room full of people, you may seem quiet, yet you cause a shift in the air so deep that even the unaware find themselves adjusting. Their posture, searching for a reason they suddenly feel transparent. You walk not to impress, but to remind. You do not boast power, you simply are power, and this is what they feel but cannot explain. Your presence is a mirror, and most are not ready to meet their own reflection. That is why they look away. That is why they call you too intense, too different, too much. They do not realize that your too much is the universe's exact prescription for a world that has settled for too little. Your aura is forged in silence, sacred, blistering silence, the kind that falls just before lightning breaks open the sky. You were not made in a moment of comfort, but in the furnace of inner undoing, when everything false was stripped from your hands and you stood naked before the truth of your own becoming. That radiance, it was earned. You dug it out of the ruins of your own forgetting. You wept it into form. You called it back from lifetimes where your voice was silenced, where your light was hunted. And now it lives in your eyes, in your calm defiance, in your capacity to hold space for others, even when they cannot do the same for you. That is your magic. You don't dominate a room, you elevate it. You don't shout to be seen, you are seen because you shine. And those who cannot meet that shine with reverence will call it arrogance, because they are still worshipping shadows and cannot comprehend a light that does not ask for permission to burn. Your aura is most powerful when You're not trying when you're simply being. It flows in how you pause before speaking, how your presence alone answers questions people didn't know they were asking. It is encoded in your stillness, in your choices, in your boundaries that are both fierce and soft. And when you walk away, you don't just leave a room. You leave a frequency that echoes. Some feel abandoned, some feel relieved, some finally feel something real. That's the thing about your energy. It confronts. Not through aggression, but through purity. You don't play roles, you break them. You don't repeat patterns, you dissolve them. You don't chase approval, because you remember the taste of your own soul and know that it is enough. Your aura doesn't seek to overpower, it simply overflows. And those who cannot hold themselves will mistake that overflow for a flood. They will say you drowned them. They will say you were too deep, but you were only ever an ocean offering to meet them in truth. Your aura is most powerful when you are alone, for it is in solitude that your frequency sings its truest melody, unfiltered by the expectations of others, unburdened by the need to shrink or explain. In silence, you remember your original blueprint, the one etched into your being before the world convinced you to forget. Alone, you are not lonely, you are whole. You are reunited with the rhythm of your own breath, the pulse of the infinite that hums beneath your skin. In that sacred quiet, your aura expands without effort, touching realms unseen, reaching through veils of illusion, calling home fragments of yourself scattered across timelines. Others seek validation to feel real, but you remember that reality bends to the one who knows they are sovereign. You do not walk through the world asking, "Am I enough?" You walk as the answer itself, and that's why many can't stay. Your presence is a purification. You do not need to confront people to make them uncomfortable. Your very peace threatens their chaos. Your clarity shakes their illusions. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need fixing, saving, or controlling. You are an invitation to awaken, and not everyone is ready to wake up, so they call you intimidating. But they are not afraid of you. They are afraid of the parts of themselves they must face in your presence. They are afraid of their own potential, their own power, their own truth. You do not make them feel small. Your presence merely reveals how small they've allowed themselves to be. You do not diminish them. You simply refuse to play the game of pretending you are less than you are. And in a world addicted to performance, your authenticity is revolutionary. Your aura is most powerful when you choose peace over reaction, presence over performance, depth over distraction. You are not loud, but you are thunderous. You are not flashy, but you are unforgettable. Your silence speaks in volumes most cannot hear. It is the silence of a mountain, of a forest, of an old soul who has died many times and still chooses to love. You don't need to prove your power. It is evident in the way life shifts when you enter a room, in the way conversations deepen, in the way people suddenly feel the need to confess, to question, to remember. You don't demand attention, you command it, not by force, but by alignment. The universe speaks through you, not in dramatic signs, but in the stillness between words, in the calm behind your gaze, in the way others feel safe enough to fall apart in your presence, because somewhere inside, they know you will not judge. They're unraveling, and still there will be those who try to dim you. Not because they are evil, but because your light awakens their shadows, and not everyone is ready to heal. Some will compete, some will copy, some will condemn. Let them. Your aura is not fragile, it is forged from soul fire. You've been through too much to be shaken by projections. Let them talk, let them misunderstand, let them walk away. You were not born to be understood by everyone. You were born to remember yourself, to embody divinity in human form, to bring heaven closer to earth simply by existing in your fullness. Your path is not to convince, it is to radiate. to walk so deeply in your truth that even those who once doubted begin to question their disbelief. Your power is not in changing others, but in being so anchored in your essence that change becomes inevitable in your presence. Because your aura is not just an energy field, it is a message, a sacred transmission from the eternal, reminding this forgetful world that there is still something holy here, something unnameable, something pure. You are the embodiment of that message, and while others wear masks to be accepted, you remove yours to be free. You choose truth over comfort, soul over strategy, purpose over popularity. That's why your energy cannot be faked, replicated, or contained. You are not made of trends or templates. You are made of truth. And truth doesn't expire. Truth doesn't compete. Truth doesn't need followers. It just is. You didn't come here to be liked. You came here to be real, to be medicine, to be mirror, to be movement. And that is why your aura feels too powerful for some, because they feel the call to rise when they're near you. And rising requires sacrifice. It requires the death of smallness, of lies, of safety. Not everyone is ready, but you are. You were born ready. You've walked through lifetimes to stand here in this moment, breathing light into a world that forgets it is worthy. You are the reminder. You are the return. You are the roar beneath the quiet, the storm behind the calm, the flame inside the stillness. And though the world may not always understand you, your aura speaks to the part of them that does, the ancient infinite part that remembers who they are, even if only for a moment. Your aura is most powerful when you have nothing left to prove, when you rise not out of ambition but alignment, when your worth is no longer tied to outcomes, applause, or recognition, but breathes quietly in the knowledge that simply being is an act of divine defiance. You no longer chase visibility because you have become visible to yourself, and in that inner seeing, your light becomes undeniable. Like dawn creeping into a long frozen sky. There is a gravity to you now, the kind that draws truth out of hiding, the kind that asks people to remove their armor not through demand but through presence. And you, so rooted, so still, have learned that presence is power. The way a mountain holds space for the sky, the way a tree listens to wind without resistance, the way the moon reflects the sun without needing to burn. That is your way, quiet, vast, essential. You have become the reminder that we do not need to shout to shift the world. We need only be who we are without apology. And yet this power you hold, it was not gifted without cost. No, your aura is not a thing that simply appeared. It is a story written in scars, in nights you wept alone while everyone slept, in battles fought inside your own ribcage, where your heart broke open again and again until it became a chalice wide enough to carry compassion. You did not wake up radiant. You became radiant by walking through the fire of forgetting and choosing, again and again, to remember. You stood at the crossroads where most turned back, and instead you walked forward, barefoot, bleeding, sovereign. Your power is not performance, it is pilgrimage. It is the journey back to your essence, and that essence is so pure that it stings the eyes of those who still fear their own light. You see, your aura holds the memory of stars. It remembers things the mind cannot speak of, the way silence holds shape, the way love bends time, the way truth feels like both fire and balm. It carries ancient codes, and this is why so many are drawn to you without understanding why. You are familiar to them, not because they know you in form, but because they remember your frequency from somewhere beyond language. And in this remembering, they are stirred. But not everyone wants to be stirred. Some wish to sleep, some wish to stay wrapped in the fog of numbness. And so when your energy enters, it becomes a disruption. Not because you tried to disrupt, but because your clarity reveals what has been hidden, and not all are ready to see. Some will resist, Some will reject, some will run. Let them. You are not here to hold on to what cannot meet you. You are here to walk in truth so deeply that even the earth opens beneath your feet and whispers, "Yes, this one remembers." Your aura is most powerful when you love without possession, when you give without depletion, when your boundaries are woven from self-respect rather than fear. You have become the paradox of softness and strength, the tender flame that refuses to go out even when drenched in rain. You've learned that true power is not about control, it is about capacity. Your capacity to hold paradox, to hold others in their becoming, to hold yourself when everything is breaking. You are not untouched by pain, but pain has become a paintbrush in your hands, and your aura is the art. It is the quiet testimony of someone who broke open and found galaxies inside, of someone who looked into the abyss and made it a mirror, of someone who no longer needs to escape the dark because they've remembered they are the light. And in this remembering, something sacred happens. You begin to walk differently, not with pride, but with presence. You no longer seek direction outside yourself because your compass lives in your bones. You no longer fear endings because you have died 1,000 tiny deaths, and each time risen more whole. You no longer dilute yourself for comfort, for convenience, for crumbs. You walk as the feast. You walk as the temple. You walk as the echo of a voice too ancient to be erased. And this is why the world doesn't quite know what to do with you, because you do not fit inside the systems built to contain souls. You are not digestible. You are not marketable. You are not here to entertain or conform. You are here to remind, to disrupt, to awaken, to rebuild what never should have been destroyed. And you do it not with a sword, but with your being. Your aura is most powerful not when you're trying to be light, but when you allow yourself to be whole, when you stop cutting off pieces of yourself to be palatable, when you no longer exile. Your rage, your sorrow, your desire, your knowing, all of it belongs. And you, when you welcome all of you, become an energy too pure for performance, too rare for replication. You become magnetic, not because you seek attention, but because you are anchored. In a world of waves, you are the ocean floor. In a culture of masks, you are the naked soul. And this is the revolution, not loud, not grand, but true. You have become a living frequency of liberation, and even if others don't speak, your language, they feel it. Their body knows. Their spirit trembles, their illusions crack, and maybe they will never tell you, but something in them shifts each time your presence brushes past. Your aura is most powerful when you stop waiting for permission, when you rise from the ashes of silence and speak not to convince, but to reclaim, when your voice is no longer shaped by acceptance, but by alignment with the frequency of your soul. You do not echo what is popular, you resonate with what is eternal. Your words are not just words, they are activations. They ripple through dimensions. They stir memories in others they thought were dreams, and that is what makes you different. You're not just speaking to ears, you're speaking to the hidden architecture of the heart, to the part of people they buried beneath years of pretending, to the place inside them that still remembers freedom, truth, magic. That is your gift, to awaken sleeping kings and queens with nothing but the truth of your vibration. Not everyone will thank you for it. Some will hate you for reminding them who they are, but deep down, in the quiet they do not share, they will feel it, and they will never be the same, because you, radiant soul, are no longer here to betray yourself in the name of harmony. You have tasted the loneliness of pretending and found it more bitter than solitude. You have learned that peace bought with self-abandonment is not peace at all. It is a quiet kind of prison. And so you have begun to choose differently. You choose truth even when it costs you. You choose stillness even when the world demands urgency. You choose yourself, not because you are selfish, but because you finally understand. Your aura can only expand in the soil of integrity. You cannot bloom where your spirit is being choked. And so you walk away from what no longer honors your expansion, not out of cruelty, but out of remembrance. Because your soul is not negotiable. Your peace is not up for debate. Your radiance is not a favor you lend to those who cannot see, and this is the threshold most never cross, the moment you stop dimming, even if it means standing alone. The moment you realize you were never meant to be understood by the many. You were meant to be felt by the few whose hearts remember the taste of stars, and so you stop performing, you stop justifying. You stop shrinking to fit inside conversations that cannot hold the language of your soul. You begin to listen more to the wind, to the rivers, to the wild animals who speak in energy, not words. You begin to walk slower, to breathe deeper, to trust the current that rises in your belly and leads you without maps. You let go of the need to be explained, for you have become a living mystery, and mystery is not meant to be solved. It is meant to be honored. Your aura is most powerful when you walk into a room and shift its temperature without uttering a word. When people feel calmer, braver, more honest, just by standing next to you. When the energy field around you becomes a sanctuary, not because you have tried to be anything, but because you have returned to everything you truly are. Your laughter becomes sacred, your stillness becomes prayer. Your presence becomes prophecy, and those who can feel it, truly feel it, will begin to weep without knowing why. Not because you hurt them, but because you reminded them of the part of themselves they forgot was still alive. Your existence becomes evidence that we can rise from anything, heal from everything, and still remain soft. You no longer chase connection, you attract it by authenticity. You no longer beg to be chosen. You choose yourself, and that energy chooses others who can see you without projection. You stop needing to be the loudest, the smartest, the most beautiful, because you realize you already carry something deeper than all of that. You carry presence, and presence is priceless. You begin to measure people not by their words, but by their energy, not by their titles, but by how your body feels around them. You learn that truth speaks first through the nervous system, that wisdom lives in your gut, and that your aura responds to frequencies far more honestly than your mind ever could. And so you trust your energy. You let it guide you, you let it protect you, you let it be the boundary and the blessing, the sword and the sanctuary. Because the truth is, you were never too much, you were never too intense, you were simply too real for a world still addicted to the performance of connection. You were never here to be digestible. You were here to be divine. You were never meant to be popular. You were meant to be powerful, in the quiet way forests are powerful, vast, deep, untamed. The kind of powerful that makes people rethink everything they thought they knew about strength. The kind of powerful that makes others stop and feel. You were never chaos. You were the storm that clears the air. You were never cold. You were the fire that others feared getting too close to, not realizing that it was the very thing meant to warm them. Your aura is most powerful when you are in love, not with a person, but with existence itself. When you open your eyes and see God in the cracks of the sidewalk, in the hands of strangers, in the rhythm of your own inhale. When you realize the miracle is not far away. It's you. It's this breath, this moment, this body that carries the universe in its bones. This soul that chose to come here again, knowing how much it would hurt, how many would misunderstand, how lonely it would be. And still you came. Still you chose love. Still you woke up this morning and decided to try again. And that, beloved, is power, not in the grand gesture, but in the quiet bravery of continuing to open your heart when it would be easier to close it.